Hello friends, welcome back to Daily Movie Recaps, a new movie recapped every single day. Today we'll recap an American vigilante action film, Equalizer, released in 2014. Spoilers up ahead, so watch out, enjoy the recap. Robert McCall is up early getting ready to go to his job at Home Mart. He is respected and well-liked among his co-workers. He sits to have lunch with his friend Ralphie. Ralphie takes a bite of his sandwich, and Robert hears a crunch. There are chips in his sandwich. Robert reminds Ralphie he is supposed to be dropping weight for his test to become a security guard. Most nights, Robert goes to a diner where he reads a book. He is currently reading The Old Man and the Sea. A young girl in the place asks Robert if the man in the book has caught the fish. He says, not yet. The girl finishes her pie and goes to hail a cab. Robert's co-workers ask him what he used to do before working with them. He jokes he was a pip with Gladys Knights and doing a little dance for them. Robert goes back to the diner that night and runs into the same young girl. She notices he's reading a new book. A limo pulls up across from the diner. She then gets a call from her pimp, Slavy. He tells her she has a client, which is the man in the limo. The girl doesn't want to, since the man is a pig. The car door opens to reveal an obese man waiting for the girl. Reluctantly, she goes outside and joins him. The next night, Robert finds the girl in the diner. She has a bruise on her face. He gives her a donut that he got from work. She sits with him at the table and introduces herself as Terry, although her real name is Alina. She hands Robert a CD that she recorded of herself singing. Robert leaves with her, and they take a walk before a car pulls up to them. It is Slavy and his driver Tevi. Slavy gets out and slaps Alina. Robert takes a step forward until he sees that Tevi has a gun. Slavy walks over to Robert and hands him a card for his business to ask for other girls. Robert visits the diner again, another night, and learns from the manager that Alina is in the ICU after being beaten badly. Robert goes there and sees another prostitute, Mandy, by Alina's side. Her face is even more bruised and messed up. Mandy walks by Robert, crying. She gets a cup of coffee, but overflows the cup. Robert comforts her and asks about Alina. They ride the elevator, and Mandy tells him that Slavy hit Alina, and she hit him back, and was made an example of. Mandy says Slavy also threw battery acid in a girl's face to make her an example as well. He has threatened other girls before, and Robert looks at the card that Slavy gave him. He then goes to an area above the restaurant where Slavy and his men are meeting. Robert enters with an envelope containing $9,800 for Alina's freedom. First, the goons laugh at Robert, though Slavy says that the money would be good to keep Alina for 1 month. Robert takes the money back and starts to walk out. He almost leaves, but then decides to stay and lock the door. After carefully observing the men and whatever weapons they may be holding, he sets the timer on his watch. One of the men aims his gun at Robert, but he grabs the man's arm and causes him to shoot Slavy in the throat. He then jabs a shot glass into that man's eye. He stabs the third man and then gets a corkscrew and repeatedly stabs Tevi until he sticks it under his chin and finishes him off. Robert goes to Slavy's side and watches him slowly die. Following the murders, a Russian mobster named Teddy arrives in Boston to seek out the killer. He teams up with a group of corrupt cops to gain leads. At work, Robert notices Ralphie isn't in. He's told that Ralphie quit. Robert visits a restaurant that Ralphie's mother works at. Ralphie is helping there after a fire broke out, supposedly by accident. Teddy's taken by one of the crooked cops, Frank Masters, to the workplace of a gangster named John Looney to continue his search for the killer. John insults Teddy and all Russians in general. In response, Teddy hits John with an ashtray while Frank kills John's goons. Teddy continues to beat John's face in until the man goes unconscious. Robert is seen playing baseball with his co-workers. Ralphie shows up in a security guard uniform, having passed his test. The other two dirty cops, Ramar and Pedersen, are eating at Ralphie's mother's restaurant. They extort her for some money and claim that there will be another accident if the money isn't on time again. Robert finds them outside on the restaurant and says he would like to report the crime. They brush him off until Robert calls one of them personally. Robert shows them a video he took of them extorting a convenience store clerk with evidence of their confession to start firing at the restaurant. Robert tells them they can either give the money back or the video will hit the news stations. The cops hold him at gunpoint. Robert quickly beats them both. They comply and later return the money to Ralphie's mother. A crook comes to Home Mart and holds the cashier Jenny at gunpoint until she hands him the money in the register. Robert calmly comes over and gives him the money. The crook, also demanding Jenny's ring, which was her mother's, she tearfully hands it to him. Robert observes several details of the man, like his tattoos and his cap. He doesn't make a move since the children enter the store with their mother. Robert instead follows the man outside and gets a look at the plates on his car. The cop informs him that this was part of a string of robberies from the same man. Robert then goes to get a sledgehammer off the rack. The next day, Jenny finds her ring in the register. Robert then returns the hammer to the rack after wiping it clean. Teddy gets some information regarding Robert, most of which appears clean, with no indication he has any involvement with Slavy's death. He and Frank, along with another villain, stake out while one of their guys tries to catch Robert at the diner. Robert knows the man is up to no good, and he asks him if they are waiting for anyone else. The man takes out a gun, starts to walk over to him. A truck pulls up by the diner, obscuring the view for Teddy and company. Robert hits the man in the stomach with his book, and then kills him by slamming his head down on the table and breaking his neck. Robert then kills the lights by sticking a knife in the outlet. He walks out of the diner and snaps photos of Teddy and his men in their car. The gangsters follow Robert home. He boils some honey to tend to a wound sustained from the gunman. He manages to slip out before Teddy and his goons arrive from another room. Robert watches them from the cameras hidden around his apartment. Teddy knows he is watching. Robert goes to the home of his friends Brian and Susan Plummer. Robert knows Susan can gather some information regarding Teddy and the people he works for. While she is out getting what he asked for, Brian tells Robert that he was believed to have been dead, but Susan knew the truth. When she returns, she tells Robert that the men he killed were part of the Russian mafia led by Vladimir Pushkin. Teddy, whose real name is Nikolai, is the man Vladimir sends when something needs to be done. Remar and Pedersen were on Vladimir's payroll, but were found dead a few days earlier with their testicles blown off and shoved down their throats. Susan warns Robert that these men won't stop until he, everyone he cares about, is dead. Robert finds Frank, traps him in his car with a hose to poison him with carbon monoxide until he tells him to help him. Frank relents and guides Robert to a warehouse where the Russians keep their money. Robert manages to get all the gangsters there to surrender, and he has tied them up in a room with all the money for the cops to find, and then he frees the workers. The police arrive to find the gangsters and money and to arrest Frank. Robert then goes to Frank's safety deposit box and gets his money, passport, and a USB containing more information regarding Vladimir and his dealings. He finds his oil tankers and blows them up. Teddy and his men overtake Home Mart and hold Robert's friends, including Ralphie and Jenny, hostage, unless Robert goes to confront them. The villains track his cell phone and await his arrival. When he doesn't appear to show, they almost execute one of Robert's co-workers until a piece of the music starts playing over the intercom. The gangsters walk out and are steadily killed by Robert and his stealthy moves around the place. He hangs one with barbed wire and stabs another one through the neck, and then kills one by blowing him up in a room with a hydrogen and a microwave. Ralphie goes to help Robert until he gets shot in the leg. Robert helps Ralphie escape until he is left with Teddy after the explosion. Sets off the sprinklers. Robert gets a nail gun and shoots Teddy with it repeatedly until he gets him in the throat, killing him. 3 days later, Robert corners Vladimir in his home in Moscow as Vladimir is taking a shower. Robert turns the lights on and off repeatedly, and he runs the sink water. Vladimir goes by the sink and finds Robert has vanished. He calls for his guards, not realizing that Robert cut the wires and left them exposed. The water hits the wires. Vladimir is electrocuted. The other guards have already been killed. Robert returns to Boston as then approached by Alina, no longer bruised up. She tells him she has gotten a real job and has started to do some reading. She thanks Robert for what he did, and she kisses him on the cheek before they bid each other farewell. After some days, Robert is at the diner on his laptop. He receives a message asking for help. He simply replies, yes. Please leave a like or a comment to let us know which movie you would like to watch next. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. This way you'll never miss any movie recap again. Thanks for watching and stay safe.